Hello class, today we're going to talk about Ritual, a Canadian company that is looking to expand to mainland China. I am Qiu Yiwang, 信任一项研究 on the team. So what is Ritual? Ritual is a social ordering app that allows users to order food ahead of time from their favorite local restaurants to be ready for pickup at their convenience. Ritual currently operates in 45 different English-speaking markets, mainly in North American cities with a few Australian cities in addition to Hong Kong and London. Moving on to reasons for internationalization. We believe that there are four main reasons for Ritual to expand. First is profitability. China is one of the world's largest food delivery market, has a market size of 51.5 billion compared to Canada's 3.3 billion dollars. Ritual's current revenue in 2020 worldwide only represents 0.57% of the food delivery market in China, which the potential gain is large compared to the potential cost of internationalization. Second is diversification. Under a different political system, China is less subject to the same economic fluctuation as other countries, which means that events could affect Ritual in other parts of the world were less likely to affect Ritual in China. Third is learning. By entering the Chinese market, Ritual will gain experience in running business in the Asian market, help them set up the systems required to make further learning in other Asian markets. And finally, early mover benefits. By entering the Chinese market, Ritual is able to learn to innovate products that more closely matches with the Chinese preference, giving them an edge over its competitors. Although Ritual currently is in Hong Kong, mainland China has a higher gauge distance to Canada. As Hong Kong is a former British colony, 65.6% of its population speak, write, and read the English language, whereas only 1% of the population in mainland China could do the same. Lastly, Hong Kong is under similar legal framework as the law of Hong Kong is based on the English common law system. Now for recommendation summary. Our first recommendation is to closely replicate the value proposition of providing convenience for customers and performance for restaurants. Second is to further localize this order sharing feature to capture this niche markets that is underserved by existing competitors in China. Third is set up subsidiaries that hire locally to overcome language and culture barriers and to set up forums to help with learning. And fourth recommendation is partnering with social media companies in China to make Ritual services available on their social platforms and to gain more exposure. Now I will pass on to Yixiao to talk about the current business model.
In terms of Ritual's current business model, in terms of the process, Ritual has onboarding expert that will reach out to restaurant and initiate the onboarding process with them. They will work with the restaurant every step of the way until they're set up for Ritual's online ordering. For their users, their app allows users to order ahead, skip the line, and also encourage users to order together with their colleagues. In terms of technology, for customers, the customer can use the Ritual link to receive orders through social media. So the customer does not need to download the app in order to place an order. For the restaurant owners, Ritual's technology gives them analytic capabilities, which means that Ritual provides the restaurant with real-time data on store experience, food quality, and customer satisfaction, which can help the restaurant to better understand their customers. In terms of value proposition, Ritual offers its customers an easy solution to order ahead, skip the line, and earn reward. In terms of the restaurant owners, Ritual uses data to help the restaurant optimize their operation, thus increase their sales and revenue. In terms of the profit formula, Ritual makes money by taking 10 to 13% fee from the restaurant sale that the app generates. Currently, we think that the business model is not fit for Chinese expansion. In terms of the process, currently Ritual acquires most of the partnerships through formal channel like emails using standardized English. However, in China, many restaurant owners speak different dialect across different regions, making them only approachable by local through more intimate manners. Therefore, we recommend Ritual to set up subsidiaries and recruit people who understand the culture, the dialect that the restaurant owners will use, and to use more informal channel by meeting the manager directly, and also to understand the local business culture and support that on a corporate level. In terms of technology, users shares Ritual links through using social media platform like Facebook that is common in the West. However, in China has its own social media ecosystem that mainly uses WeChat and QQ. More importantly, sharing links on this platform requires specific legislative approvals. Therefore, rituals should build infrastructure that allows sharing on this platform and seek out partnership with this platform to allow sharing of the links. Ritual currently is not suitable for Chinese selling. Ritual is currently designed to be paid by credit card. However, the majority of Chinese make purchase by using Alipay and WeChat Pay, and only 47% of Chinese owner has credit card. Ritual needs to develop its in-app feature for WeChat Pay and Alipay before its launch in China. Finally, in terms of Chinese marketing, currently, Ritual advertises most of its special deals to its customers through emails. However, email has never took off in China and very few people use it. So we recommend Ritual to to reach the Chinese consumer and gain market exposure by using common practice in China, such as celebrity endorsement and corporate sponsorship of popular TV shows. Now I pass it on to Xinren.
Okay, thank you, Yixiao. Now up onto the distance considerations. We focus on the 4 key categories, and by comparing and evaluating those differences, we will come to a conclusion of which cities to enter. Okay, firstly, starting off with the economic distance. So unlike Canada, there's a huge gap in GDP across provinces and cities, where the higher GDP compensates its lower GDP per capita, making the market enormous. Secondly, comparing with Canada, China has much less homogeneous economic growth, with some cities enjoying much higher standards of living than the others. Therefore, we should expect large variation in consumer income and spending behaviors across the cities. Third, unlike Canada, there's a huge poverty gap within China, especially between urban centers and rural areas. Next, speaking of administrative differences, we notice that in China, government policies are usually too vague and complex for foreign business to adapt. And there are many legislative requirements against the technology companies like Ritual. Okay, now move on to geographical distance. Even though China is smaller than Canada in size, but the Chinese market is more segmented across regions. For instance, within each province, there are specific sectors prevailing the others due to higher local demand and supportive government policies. For example, cities like Guangzhou and Shenzhen are thrived with semiconductors and manufacturers, whereas cities like Shanghai and Beijing are more of financials and information technology companies. Now, lastly, we have the cultural distance. And the first barrier of entry that we see here is the language. Even though Mandarin is the official language spoke by the nation, but in China, there are 129 different dialects, which gives each province and cities distinct sense of identities. Another factor worth considering is the internet firewall, where China's internet community is isolated from the rest of the world, and it has its own major applications or website dominating almost every single sector. As such, we made the conclusion that Ritual should focus on entering Tier 2 cities in China, targeting Chengdu, Chongqing, and Kunming, because it has lower operational costs like rent and wages. They are much more efficient compared to the first-tier cities like Shenzhen and Guangzhou. And the market size for the past decade in those cities was growing significantly. And those cities were very popular, not just for startups like Ritual, but also firms from other provinces within China. And now I will pass on to David for trajectory benefits.
All right, thanks. Thanks, guys. So in terms of the revenue projections, we look at the market size of China's food delivery service to conclude the potential revenue for Ritual. Considering competitive landscape in China, we only hope 1% of the white-collar customers' market shares to call it a success in the first year. And in the following years, we expect the revenue to gradually increase to 10% of the market share. And that will bring home approximately $4.8 billion in revenue a year and giving Ritual 8% of the total food delivery market share. In terms of the financial implications, we expect the marketing expense to occupy 40% of the revenue at the start and gradually decline to 20% over the 5 years. Once Rachel has become more familiar with the local market, we see the possibility to finally making profit in 2025. So that will be 4 years after entry. And in terms of the financing plan, we recommend acquiring 50% from the issuance of bonds. The company has not issued any bonds in the past, and this is primarily due to its conservative strategies in expansion. And this allows it to issue bonds at a relatively low rate right now. And the rest of the capital will coming from E-series funding. Due to the complexity in Chinese market, we believe that partnering up with local ventures or private equity investors will have substantial support to establish Rachel's local networks and presence. And to wrap up, we think that Chinese food delivery market is a promising market to enter. Although we see the gap in culture and how the Chinese market is segmented regionally, well, what we will recommend doing is to stand firm to replicate the current value proposition at Rachel. And second is to pinpoint the niche market of white-collar workers. And third is to hire locals and partner up with Tencent in order to localize. And only enter Tier 2 city at first. And about financing, we recommend 50-50 for debt and equity. We project the company to profit in year 4 and eventually occupying 8% of the market share. And that will be all. We look forward to bridging the great wall for Rachel.com. Thanks for watching, and we will take questions now.